the desperate plea. The emergency klaxons echoed through the corridors of Nexus 7th, the massive space station that served as the heart of galactic civilization. Senator Crix pressed his scaled hands against the viewing port of his private transport as it approached the docking bay. The ancient reptilian diplomat had seen many crises in his 2 centuries of service, but nothing had prepared him for this. Outside the reinforced transparasteel, the void of space flickered with orange flames. Debris fields stretched as far as sensors could detect, the remains of entire star systems reduced to cosmic dust. The Devourers had returned, and they were hungry. Crix's transport shuddered as it passed through the station's defensive shields. Even here, at the center of galactic power, the air tasted of fear. His fellow passengers, representatives from dozens of worlds, sat in stunned silence. They had all seen the reports. 17 colonies consumed in 3 days. Military fleets that simply vanished when they encountered the enemy. An ancient nightmare made real. The docking bay was chaos. Ships arrived constantly, bringing refugees and desperate reports from the Outer Rim territories. Crix made his way through the crowds, his ceremonial robes marking him as a member of the Galactic Senate. Security guards cleared a path, but their eyes held the same terror he saw everywhere else. The Senate chamber had been reconfigured for emergency session. The usual, careful seating arrangements were abandoned as representatives crowded together, seeking comfort in numbers. High Chancellor Vorth stood at the center podium, his ancient tree-like form swaying slightly as he addressed the assembly. The Chancellor was old, older than most civilizations, and his voice carried the weight of millennia. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Vorth began. His words translated instantly into hundreds of languages. We face extinction. The Devourers have awakened from their 1,000-year slumber, and our worst fears have become reality. A holographic display materialized above the chamber, showing the galactic map in sickening detail. Red zones spread like infection across the outer spiral arms, marking systems that no longer existed. The display updated in real time as more reports arrived, each new red mark representing billions of lives lost. Admiral Thane rose from his floating platform, his blue aquatic features glistening under the chamber's lights. The commander of the combined fleet had fought in a dozen wars, but his usual confidence was nowhere to be seen. Honored Chancellor, our latest engagement reports are troubling. The 4th battle group encountered a Devourer harvester near the Kepler Nebula. 96 ships, including 3 dreadnoughts. The entire force vanished within 14 minutes. Murmurs of horror rippled through the chamber. The 4th battle group had been one of their strongest military formations, equipped with the latest plasma cannons and quantum shields. If they couldn't even slow down a single Devourer ship, what hope did anyone have? Dr. Yenna, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, pulsed with agitated light. Her voice resonated directly in the minds of those present. The analysis is clear. Devourer technology has advanced during their dormant period. They consume matter and energy more efficiently now. Our weapons cannot penetrate their adaptive hulls, and our shields are useless against their molecular disintegrators. Senator Crix stood, requesting permission to speak. Chancellor, perhaps it is time to consider alternatives. Options we have previously deemed unacceptable. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew what he meant, though none wanted to say it aloud. Vorth's ancient eyes focused on Crix, waiting for him to continue. The humans, Crix said quietly. We must contact Earth. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Representatives leaped to their feet, shouting over each other in dozens of languages. Some demanded he be removed from the chamber for even suggesting such madness. Others called him a traitor to galactic civilization. Admiral Thane's voice cut through the chaos. Absolutely not. Have you forgotten what they did to the Xeranian Federation? An entire invasion fleet, gone without a trace. Those monsters are quarantined for good reason. Monsters who saved us from the Xeranians, Crix replied calmly. Monsters who solved what we could not. Dr. Yenna's light dimmed as she accessed her vast memory banks. The human conflict occurred 75 years ago. The Zoranian Empire launched a conquest fleet of 3,000 ships against Earth's solar system. First contact protocols were ignored. The Zoranians intended to enslave or eliminate humanity. The chamber grew quiet again, remembering that dark chapter in galactic history. The Zoranian Empire had been brutal, expanding their territory through systematic genocide. When they discovered Earth, they saw just another primitive world to conquer. The engagement lasted 8 hours. Dr. Yenna continued. When it ended, 3,000 Zoranian ships had been reduced to their component atoms. No wreckage remained, no energy signatures, no quantum echoes. It was as if the entire fleet had never existed. High Chancellor Vorth leaned forward on his podium. "Tell them about the investigation, Doctor." A joint inquiry was launched immediately. Teams from 17 different species examined the human solar system. They found no trace of advanced weaponry, no massive ship formations, no evidence of how such destruction was possible. The humans claimed they had simply defended themselves. Senator Crix nodded grimly. That is why the quarantine was established. Not because humans were weak, but because they were too dangerous, too willing to use methods that civilized species would never consider. And now you want to invite them back into galactic civilization? Admiral Thane's voice was incredulous. They could turn on us the moment the Devourer threat is eliminated. They could, Crix agreed. But consider the alternative. The Devourers will reach the core worlds within 6 months. Nexus 7 will fall within a year. We can die as slaves to the Devourers, or we can take a chance on humanity's darkness. The debate that followed was fierce and desperate. Some representatives argued for evacuation to other galaxies. Others wanted to negotiate with the Devourers, hoping for mercy that history suggested would never come. A few extremist factions even proposed using forbidden weapons of mass destruction, planet killers that had been banned for centuries. But as the hours passed and more red zones appeared on the galactic map, the momentum slowly shifted. Fear was a powerful motivator, and fear of extinction was strongest of all. Dr. Yenna provided the technical analysis that finally swayed the debate. Devourer expansion follows predictable patterns. They consume systems in a spiral pattern, growing stronger with each victory. Current projections indicate complete galactic consumption within 2 standard years. Conventional resistance will only delay this outcome by an estimated 3 to 4 months. "What about our super weapon projects?" asked Representative Mella from the Crystalline Consortium. "The gravity bombs? The dimensional rifts?" 30 years from completion, assuming unlimited resources and no Devourer interference, Dr. Yenna replied. "We do not have 30 years. We barely have 30 days before they reach the mid-rim territories." The vote was called at the 23rd hour of debate. The chamber's ancient voting system activated, each representative's decision recorded with solemn ceremony. The tally appeared on the central display: 847 in favor of contacting Earth, 623 opposed, 112 abstentions. High Chancellor Vorth's voice was heavy with resignation and faint hope. "The motion passes. We will contact the human homeworld and request military assistance against the Devourer threat." The quantum transmission array on Nexus 7 was the most powerful communication system in the galaxy. It could send messages across vast distances instantaneously, using exotic particles that existed outside normal spacetime. The message to Earth was crafted carefully, translated into the mathematical languages that humans seemed to prefer. "To the government and people of Earth," the message began, "the galaxy burns. An ancient enemy has returned, consuming entire star systems. Our combined fleets have fallen. Our weapons are useless. We who once feared you now beg for your aid. Will you help us?" The transmission was sent with full diplomatic protocols carrying the seals of all major galactic civilizations. It raced through hyperspace toward Earth's solar system, carrying the desperate hope of trillions of beings. Back on Nexus 7, the waiting began. Some representatives returned to their homeworlds, preparing for evacuation or last stands. Others remained on the station, monitoring devourer movements and hoping for a miracle. Senator Crix stood alone in his quarters, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, ancient machines were methodically destroying everything his people had built over millennia, and somewhere else in a small solar system that the galaxy had tried to forget, the most dangerous species known to exist was deciding whether to answer their call for help. The galaxy had awakened humanity once before, during the Xeranian crisis. That awakening had saved countless lives, but had also revealed weapons and tactics that defied understanding. Now they were asking humanity to wake up again, to bring their darkness into the light once more. Crix closed his eyes and whispered a prayer to his ancestors. He had cast the vote that might save galactic civilization. He had also potentially doomed it to a different kind of slavery. In the depths of space, the devourer fleets continued their inexorable advance, consuming star after star. They had no knowledge of the desperate gamble being played out in the galaxy's political centers. They had never encountered humanity during their previous awakening, having been dormant when the Xeranian fleet disappeared. Soon, they would learn what the galaxy had tried so hard to forget. Soon, they would discover why an entire civilization had chosen to lock away their potential saviors rather than risk unleashing them again. The message traveled on through hyperspace, carrying with it the weight of galactic civilization's survival. Earth would have to decide, remain in safe isolation, or step once again into the cosmic arena where moral lines blurred and survival demanded the unthinkable. Time was running out, and the galaxy's fate hung in the balance. Earth's answer. The quantum message reached Earth's outer detection grid at exactly 14:37 Greenwich Mean Time on a Tuesday that would be remembered as the day humanity returned to the stars. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching the message decode on the main display. The facility had been built into the dark side of the moon, hidden from any casual observation but equipped with the most advanced technology humanity had developed during their 75 years of isolation. Sarah was a small woman with silver-streaked, black hair and eyes that had seen too much combat. She had been 12 years old when the quarantine began, old enough to remember the brief moment when humanity had reached for the stars and found only fear and rejection. Now, at 87, she commanded Earth's entire defense network. "Ma'am," called Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez from the communications station, "we're receiving priority channels from every major government on Earth. They all want to know about the alien transmission." Sarah nodded grimly. The world leaders had been briefed on the possibility of renewed galactic contact. Most had hoped it would never happen. Humanity had grown comfortable in their isolation, building wonders that the galaxy had never imagined while remaining safely hidden behind their quarantine barrier. "Send the standard response," Sarah ordered. "Emergency session of the United Earth Council in 6 hours. Full military briefing to follow." She turned to study the decoded message again. The desperation was clear in every line. The galaxy that had once called humanity monsters was now begging for those same monsters to save them. The irony was not lost on her. Dr. James Wright, Earth's chief xenobiologist, entered the command center carrying a data tablet. He was a tall, thin man with prematurely gray hair and the kind of intense focus that came from dedicating one's life to understanding alien civilizations. "Admiral, I've completed the preliminary analysis of their message. The devourers they mention, we have historical records of that conflict." "Share it," Sarah said, settling into her command chair. 1,075 years ago, ND. Ancient machine civilization emerged from the galactic core. They called themselves the Devourers, though that was a rough translation. They consumed entire star systems, converting matter and energy into more of themselves. The galaxy barely survived their first expansion wave. Sarah frowned. How did they stop them? They didn't. The Devourers simply went dormant, retreating to the galactic core for reasons unknown. The galaxy spent the next millennium preparing for their return, but clearly those preparations were inadequate. The United Earth Council convened in Geneva, with representatives attending both in person and via quantum link. President Maria Santos called the session to order, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the decision they faced. "Council members," she began, "we all know why we're here. The galaxy that exiled us now asks for our help. Before we decide, let's review what we've become during our isolation." General Hassan Okafor, Earth's military commander, stood to present the briefing. 75 years ago, humanity possessed basic spaceflight and primitive energy weapons. Today, we have technologies that would have seemed impossible to our ancestors. The holographic display showed Earth's hidden achievements: massive shipyards built inside asteroids, weapons that manipulated the fundamental forces of physics, defensive systems that could hide entire star systems from detection. The Zeranian incident taught us that conventional warfare was insufficient. General Okafor continued, "We developed new approaches to conflict: quantum disruption fields that unravel matter at the subatomic level, temporal displacement weapons that remove targets from the time stream, reality anchor systems that prevent faster-than-light travel in designated areas." President Santos looked around the council chamber. "The question before us is simple. Do we help the galaxy that cast us out, knowing that our intervention will forever change the balance of power among the stars?" The debate was shorter than anyone expected. Humanity had changed during their isolation, but they had not become the monsters the galaxy feared. They had simply become more human, more determined, to protect life wherever they found it. The vote was unanimous. Earth would answer the call. 3 days later, the U.S. Sovereign launched from Luna Base. The ship was a marvel of human engineering, built during the darkest years of the quarantine when humanity had resolved never to be caught unprepared again. It was smaller than the massive dreadnoughts other species favored, but size was irrelevant when your weapons could rewrite the laws of physics. Captain Marcus Torres stood on the bridge, watching Earth shrink behind them. He was a veteran of the asteroid mining wars, one of the few conflicts humanity had fought during their isolation. At 45, he had trained his entire career for this moment, the return to galactic civilization. "Guardian, bring all systems online," he ordered. The ship's AI responded immediately. Guardian was not like the simple computers other species used. It was a true artificial intelligence, grown rather than programmed, with capabilities that matched or exceeded any organic mind. "All systems nominal, Captain. Quantum drives at full power. Defensive matrices active. Weapon systems armed and ready." The Sovereign's destination was the Kepler Nebula, where the galaxy's combined fleets had reportedly made their last stand. Long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures and debris fields that stretched for light years. As they approached, the scope of the destruction became clear. Thousands of ships floated dead in space, their hulls twisted and broken. Some had been partially consumed, their matter converted into strange crystalline structures that pulsed with alien energy. Others had simply been vaporized, leaving only quantum echoes of their former existence. "Guardian, analysis of the debris field," Torres ordered. "Scanning," the AI responded. "Detecting weapons signatures consistent with molecular disintegration technology. The attacking force consumed roughly 60% of the destroyed materials, converting them into self-replicating constructs. Pattern analysis suggests a single attacking vessel, approximately 15 kilometers in length." Torres felt a chill. One ship had done this. One Devourer vessel had destroyed what might have been the largest fleet in galactic history. "Captain," called Commander Lisa Park from the sensor station, "we're detecting an active contact bearing 27 Mark IV. It's moving toward the debris field." The main display showed a ship that hurt to look at. It was organic in design but clearly artificial, a fusion of biology and technology that seemed to writhe and pulse with its own life. 15 kilometers of nightmare architecture, studded with weapons that violated every principle of conventional physics. "Guardian, threat assessment," Torres said quietly. "Analyzing." The AI paused for a moment, processing data at superhuman speeds. "Devourer vessel classification, Harvester, estimated age, approximately 800 years. Technology level, significantly advanced beyond galactic norms. Threat level, high, but manageable. The Devourer ship detected the Sovereign's approach and turned toward them. Energy readings spiked as alien weapons came online, charging with power that could shatter planets. "Captain," Commander Park said, her voice tight with tension, "the alien vessel is targeting us. Multiple weapon locks detected." Torres settled into his command chair. This was what humanity had prepared for during their long isolation. "Guardian, activate the reality anchor. Lock down local space-time." Reality anchor engaged. Faster than light travel is now impossible within a 50,000-kilometer radius. The Devourer ship fired first, lancing out with beams of pure destruction that could unravel matter at the molecular level. The weapons struck the Sovereign's defensive barriers and simply stopped, their energy absorbed and redirected into harmless radiation. "Quantum displacement fields holding," reported the tactical officer. "No damage to primary systems." Torres nodded. "Return fire. Temporal displacement, targeted strikes." The Sovereign's response was swift and surgical. Beams of twisted light reached out toward the Devourer ship, not to destroy it but to remove it from the timeline. The alien vessel flickered and began to fade as its past and future were severed from the present moment. But the Devourer technology adapted quickly. Quantum fields flared around the alien ship, anchoring it to reality and preventing temporal displacement. The creature inside the ship was learning, evolving its defenses in real time. "Impressive," Guardian observed. "The Devourer entity is more sophisticated than initial scans indicated, adjusting tactics." The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded history. The Devourer ship unleashed weapons that rewritten local physics, creating zones where matter ceased to exist and energy became solid. The Sovereign responded with technologies that seemed to violate causality itself, effects occurring before their causes, weapons that fired backward through time. Space itself became a battlefield as two incompatible forms of superscience clashed. Stars dimmed as their light was absorbed and redirected. Quantum foam bubbled into existence, creating temporary micro-universes that collapsed microseconds later. The turning point came when Guardian identified the Devourer's critical weakness. "Captain, the entity requires a constant flow of consumed energy to maintain its cognitive functions. If we can isolate it from external energy sources for 37 seconds, its higher reasoning will collapse." "Do it," Torres ordered. The Sovereign deployed its most exotic weapon, the entropy field. A bubble of absolute vacuum expanded around. The Devourer ship, not just removing air but removing the very possibility of energy existing within its boundaries. The alien vessel found itself cut off from the universe itself, unable to draw power from the quantum foam or the background radiation of space. For 37 seconds, the Devourer ship hung motionless in the void. Then its coordination systems failed. Its adaptive defenses crumbled, and the ancient intelligence that had terrorized the galaxy began to fragment. The Sovereign's conventional weapons finished what the entropy field had started. Quantum torpedoes struck the disabled vessel, unraveling its exotic matter hull and sending cascades of exotic particles into space. The Devourer ship collapsed into a cloud of elementary particles, its consciousness scattered across dimensions. "Threat neutralized," Guardian reported. "Devourer entity has been dispersed, vessel destroyed." Torres stood slowly, staring at the empty space where the alien ship had been. "Send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them the Sovereign is operational and ready to assist." "And Guardian?" "Yes, Captain. Start scanning for more Devourer signatures. Something tells me that was just the beginning." The message that reached Nexus 7 3 hours later was brief and terrifying in its simplicity. "UES Sovereign to Galactic Council. Devourer vessel encountered and destroyed. Requesting tactical data on remaining threats. Humanity stands ready to assist." In the council chambers, Senator Cricks read the message with shaking hands. They had asked for humanity's help, and humanity had answered. But as he looked at the tactical analysis of the battle, he wondered if they had simply traded one form of extinction for another. The galaxy had awakened humanity once again. This time there would be no putting the monsters back to sleep.